The moment the 3-star admiral's hand touched her rifle, every operator in that room knew someone wasn't walking out the same. What happened in the next 8 seconds would either destroy her career or cement her legend. One wrong move and she'd be court-martialed. One right move and she'd change military history forever. This is the true story of the day a Wyoming girl with a .50 caliber rifle taught a decorated admiral what real precision actually means. 7:55 a.m. Kandahar Province, Afghanistan. The heat inside the briefing room clung to skin like wet concrete. Diesel fumes mixed with dust from the compound's helicopter pad, creating a thick haze that made breathing feel like work. In the back corner, Staff Sergeant Rachel Novak sat alone, her Barrett M10701 resting across her knees. She didn't look up when the door opened. Boots scraped against concrete. Chairs creaked. Rangers from 2nd Battalion filed in first, their movements efficient and silent. SEAL Team 3 operators followed, eyes scanning, assessing, always calculating. They spoke in low murmurs, the kind of sparse communication that comes from men who've learned words can get you killed. Everyone knew today mattered. High-value target meeting in the valley. High risk, high reward. The kind of mission that either makes careers or fills body bags. Rachel's hands moved with the precision of ritual. Bolt open, chamber clear. Her cloth moved across the receiver in small, deliberate circles, catching every speck of dust, every molecule of moisture. The Barrett gleamed under the fluorescent lights. Its matte black finish absorbing light like it absorbed recoil. Perfectly. Completely. Without complaint. The men filing in didn't notice her at first. They never did. Rachel had learned early that being invisible was an advantage. Let them underestimate. Let them assume. She'd done her talking downrange, where it mattered. Then the door slammed open hard enough to rattle the hinges. Vice Admiral Richard Brennan entered like a storm front. 3 stars on his collar caught the light. His khakis were pressed sharp enough to cut paper. Boots so polished you could see your reflection. Ribbons covered his chest in a rainbow of campaign medals, service awards, and commendations that looked more like a trophy case than a military record. He moved through the room with the confidence of a man who'd never been told no. His eyes swept across the assembled operators, pausing when they landed on Rachel. His pace slowed. His gaze dropped to the Barrett. Rachel didn't look up. Her hands continued their work, reassembling the bipod with the kind of muscle memory that comes from 10,000 repetitions. The silence between them wasn't defiance. It was focus. Get your pretty little hands off that rifle, sweetheart. The words dropped into the room like a flashback. Everything stopped. The Rangers froze mid-conversation. The SEALs' heads turned in unison. Chief Petty Officer Marcus Jackson's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Master Sergeant Lewis shifted his weight, arms crossing slowly over his chest. A junior operator coughed into his hand. The sound too loud in the sudden quiet. Rachel blinked once, then continued wiping down the barrel with the same focus she'd had 3 seconds earlier. Her heartbeat didn't spike. Her breathing didn't change. She'd heard worse. She'd also outshot everyone in this room, including the Admiral, who thought his rank meant something at 1,000 meters. Brennan stepped closer, now towering over her seated position. His voice took on an amused edge, the kind men use when they think they're being charming. That's a man's weapon, Sergeant. What are you planning to do with it? Compensate for something? The room went from quiet to dead silent. Rachel finished cleaning the suppressor mount, clicked it into place with a sound that seemed too loud. Still no eye contact. Still no words. Not yet. Because she'd learned something from her grandfather Michael, back in the endless Wyoming prairie where the wind never stopped and the shots never lied. Never let them see you break. Never waste words when bullets speak clearer. And never, ever give them the reaction they're fishing for. Master Sergeant Lewis cleared his throat from his position near the map table. His voice came out measured, professional, but with an edge that suggested warning. Sir, Staff Sergeant Novak holds the theta distance record. 2,280 meters. Confirmed by 3 spotters. Video verified. Brennan waved a dismissive hand like he was swatting a fly. I've been shooting since Annapolis. Competitive rifle team. All-Navy champion. 1991. Precision isn't just pulling a trigger, Sergeant. It's understanding pressure, wind variables. It's art and science. He paused, letting his credentials hang in the air like they meant something out here. It's breeding. Rachel finally looked up, not hostile, not defiant, just still. Her green eyes gave away nothing. The same eyes that had stared through scopes at targets who never saw her coming. She saw a man who hadn't touched field soil in 10 years, trying to measure her worth by medals and pedigree. She saw a man who'd forgotten what real combat actually looked like. Brennan reached down, his hand wrapped around the Barrett's barrel. The room didn't just go silent. It stopped breathing. Every operator there understood the violation. You don't touch another shooter's rifle without permission. Ever. It's like walking into someone's home and smashing their family photos. Like reading their diary. Like touching their wife. Some lines exist for a reason. Rachel's left hand froze mid-motion on her ammo pouch. For 3 full seconds, no one moved. Chief Jackson said her name once. Just Rachel. A warning and a plea packed into 2 syllables. The tone that says, don't do what I know you're about to do. She didn't respond. Inside her head, Michael's voice came back, clear as the Wyoming wind. They will test you. Let them. Then show them why testing was a mistake. The admiral held the weapon, smiling like this was a game he'd already won. Maybe I'll test this myself. See if it's as impressive as the paperwork suggests. Or if we're just lowering standards to fill quotas. He lifted the Barrett of the table. Awkward, unbalanced, his grip all wrong, muzzle pointing at a 45-degree angle toward the floor. He didn't even shoulder it properly. That's when Rachel stood, slowly, no sudden movements, no aggression, just a girl from Wyoming who'd been underestimated her entire life, standing up one more time. She took 1 step forward, her voice calm as a mill pond before a storm. Sir, with respect, hands of the rifle. It's zeroed from my profile. I relief, cheek welled, trigger tension. You'll knock the optic alignment. Brennan turned toward her, annoyed that she dared to speak. I think I can handle. Sir, Master Sergeant Lewis stood now, his voice still professional but carrying weight. She's pulled overwatch on 3 of our patrols, cleared 6 threats before first contact. We don't make numbers like that up. We barely survived them. Brennan shifted the rifle in his hands, irritated at being challenged. It's not about numbers. It's about confidence in the field. You start putting too much faith in technology. In optics, you forget what real instinct looks like. Rachel took another step forward, close enough now that she had to look up slightly to meet his eyes, close enough that he could smell the gun oil on her hands. Sir, last warning. Set the weapon down. The silence that followed could have shattered glass. Brennan looked at her for a long moment, measuring, calculating whether this 19-year-old staff sergeant was actually going to challenge him, deciding whether his ego was worth whatever came next. Then he smiled and yanked the rifle hard to his right. Maybe to test her, maybe to prove dominance, maybe just because 30 years of unchecked authority made him think he could. It was the wrong choice. Rachel didn't think, didn't hesitate, didn't debate. Her training took over before conscious thought could interfere. She stepped inside his reach, pivoted on her left foot, and used his own momentum against him. Her right hand caught his wrist, thumb driving into the cluster of nerves at the radial junction. She rotated with her hips, controlling his elbow, applying torque in a direction the joint wasn't designed to bend. The pain hit him like voltage. He dropped to one knee fast, face going pale, breath hissing through clenched teeth. There was a sound. Not quite a pop, not quite a crack, just enough to send a message that ligaments have limits. The Barrett clattered to the floor. Every operator in that room stood up simultaneously. Hands didn't go to weapons. Nobody drew. Nobody moved aggressively. But the energy in the room changed like a switch had flipped. These were men who'd spent careers reading violence. And what they were reading now said this could go very wrong. Very fast. Chief Jackson moved half a step forward, but stopped. His eyes on Rachel said careful. Master Sergeant Lewis didn't move at all. His eyes said finish what you started. Rachel held the joint lock for exactly 2 more seconds. Long enough for the lesson to sink in. Long enough for the admiral to understand. He'd made a profound miscalculation. Then she released. Brennan cradled his right hand, breathing through his teeth, face flushed with pain and shattered pride. A lieutenant moved to help him, but Brennan waved him off with his good hand. Rachel stepped back, picked up her Barrett, checked the optic for damage, found none, then turned to face him, her voice steady as bedrock. Sir, give me 6 targets, any distance you want, any conditions. The room held its breath. If I miss one, I'll take full responsibility. Court martial, reassignment, discharge whatever you see fit. She paused, let it sink in. But if I hit all 6, I run Overwatch my way. No interference, no more questions, no more tests. Brennan stood slowly, stiffly, the weight of 50 witnesses pressing down on him harder than Rachel's joint lock ever could. He flexed his fingers, wincing, looked at her like he was seeing her for the first time. When he spoke, his voice had lost its swagger. Fine, you get your 6. Word spread through the fort like wildfire in dry grass. By the time they reached the range, Rachel had an audience. Rangers peeled off from patrol prep, SEAL Skip Chow.
FSJTACS stood near the berm, arms folded, waiting to see if the rumors were true.
The female sniper who dropped an admiral is about to shoot for her career. The range sat just outside the wire, flanked by low ridge lines that shimmered with heat distortion. 6 steel targets had been placed at staggered distances.
800 meters, 1000, 1250,
1400,
1600,
and the last one, nearly invisible in the heat shimmer. 1810 meters. The wind had picked up to 12 knots, gusting to 15.
Variable crosswind, right to left. Not ideal, not impossible.
Just unforgiving. Rachel lay prone behind her Barrett on a canvas shooting mat.
She didn't rush, didn't perform.
Just worked through her process the same way she had 10,000 times before, spotting scope to her left.
Databook open to pages marked with previous dope from similar conditions. She flipped to her wind chart for this altitude, made a note in pencil, checked barometric pressure on her kestrel.
A density read low. Valley heat would push trajectory flatter on the first 3 shots.
But at 1600 and out, the bullet would dip fast and late.
She'd need to hold high and read the mirage tight.
Behind her, the murmurs built, quiet.
Professional. SEALs discussed wind calls. Rangers shared bets under their breath.
A Marine JTAC lit a dip and squinted through binoculars.
No one talked to Rachel, not out of disrespect, out of understanding.
She was in that zone now.
That place where good shooters go when the rest of the world turns to static. She checked her scope one final time. Glass clean, 0 held.
Elevation turret dialed exact.
She always confirmed dope manually,
never trusting memory when careers hung in the balance.
Her breathing slowed to 4-count intervals. In hold, out, pause. Her cheek settled against the stock like coming home. The spotter beside her, a staff sergeant from 10th Group, whispered range confirmations. Targets live.
Conditions locked.
Rachel didn't answer. She'd already memorized the terrain, the light, the feel of wind on the back of her neck.
Now it was just math and instinct and the trigger.
Barely a warm-up. She adjusted for minimal wind.
Held just of center to compensate for the left to right push. Squeezed.
The Barrett cracked. Half a second later, steel rang clean.
Dead center.
She cycled the bolt slowly, feeling the mechanics glide.
Chambered the next round. Mirite was building low across the valley,
bending the image just enough to throw less experienced shooters. She adjusted 1 click up, held a half mil right, and fired. The blade rocked.
Another clean hit. Wind gusted hard right as she set up.
She paused, waited out the shift, ran her dope again.
Dialed elevation precisely, held just above shoulder height. The round struck just left of center, still solid.
No corrections needed.
Crosswinds now, plus uneven light signature from heat distortion.
Rachel leaned into her training, slowed her breathing even more.
Aimed a 1/4 mil low, trusting the tailwind component.
Impact hit high chest. The sound echoed back slower, but unmistakable. 4 for 4.
Behind her, the crowd had grown.
Word had spread to the TUC. Even the base commander had walked out to watch. The steel here was thinner, a challenge Brennan himself had specified.
She read the dust near the berm, watching how it lifted and fell. Pattern recognition born from 1,000 Wyoming afternoons.
She clicked 3 up for elevation, held hard right for a high gust, fired.
The impact took over 2 seconds to return. Headshot. Someone behind her whispered, "Holy shit." Then came the last one. The edge of the Barrett's practical range in this heat. The target looked like a mirage, a shimmer that might not even be real.
Rachel double-checked everything. Coriolis effect.
Spin drift. Wind at multiple levels. She recalculated, exhaled slow, and waited.
The wind eased slightly. That was her window. She pressed the trigger.
The recoil hit her shoulder like a familiar handshake. Then silence. Waiting. 3 full seconds of every person on that range holding their breath. Then the steel rang deep and final, like a bell struck at a funeral or a coronation. Behind her, Vice Admiral Brennan stood with his injured hand wrapped in gauze. For a long moment, he didn't move.
Then slowly, deliberately, he raised his left hand in a crisp salute.
When he spoke, his voice carried across the range, clear and steady.
Staff Sergeant Novak, I was wrong.
Consider this my apology.
And in that moment, Rachel Novak became more than a sniper. She became a message. The Valley operation launched at 0520 hours. Rachel was already in position on the northern ridge, prone in a shallow hide she'd prepared the night before.
Buried zeroed.
Spotting scope aligned.
The mission was simple in theory, impossible in execution. Insert 2 assault teams into a compound holding 6 high-value targets. Get in, get them, get out.
Rachel's job was overwatch.
Eliminate threats before they ever knew they were being hunted.
Her first shot dropped a lone rifleman at 800 meters.
Mid-shift during a cigarette break,
He folded without a sound, the cigarette still glowing as it fell. The next came within 60 seconds.
a pair of lookouts guarding a switchback trail. Rachel adjusted for a 5-mile-per-hour crossbreeze, sent both rounds within 3 inches of each other. Chest shots. Clean.
Radio crackled.
3 confirmed. Clear to advance.
She shifted position slightly, angling for the upper balcony of a stone compound. 2 more hostiles posted there.
Both fell in under 4 seconds.
5 down, 3 to go. The 6th was pacing a rooftop behind sandbags.
She waited.
Let him settle into his pattern.
When he paused to adjust his rifle sling, she took him.
Had shot through a break in the wall. Target 7 moved through dense trees on the far ridge. Partial cover.
Distance, 1,610 meters.
She watched his silhouette between gaps in branches. Timed her shot with the sway. The moment came.
The round hit high shoulder.
He dropped.
Then the last one.
1,987 meters.
A narrow window.
The shooter stood near a stone archway, adjusting gear. The gap between support pillars was just over 2 feet. Rachel made one elevation correction.
Held 1 full mil for a shifting gust. Fired. 3 seconds later, the shot struck through the left lung.
The man crumpled.
A faint acknowledgement came through comms. All threats down. Moving to breach. The assault team swept in. 6 high-value targets secured.
0 friendly casualties.
Mission complete by 0630 hours. Later that day, Admiral Brennan submitted paperwork.
Not just an after-action report.
A recommendation.
Silver Star citation for precision.
Fire resulting in operational
Success without exposure of ground units. He signed it himself.
3 months later, Rachel stood on a platform at Fort Liberty.
Her orders assigned her as the first female instructor
At the Special Forces Sniper Course,
formerly SOTIC. She didn't speak during the ceremony, just nodded once when the course commander handed her the tab.
Her grandfather Michael passed away 2 weeks after that.
Heart failure. Natural. Peaceful. Rachel flew home quietly. The Silver Star sat next to his old Soviet sniper badge on a small wooden box by his bed.
2 legacies.
Side by side.
She stayed one night, then flew back. The next class was already forming,
And somewhere in Wyoming, the wind still blows across empty prairie, carrying stories of a girl who learned to shoot before she learned to drive.
and who taught a 3-star admiral that precision isn't about breeding.
It's about practice.
If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe to Silent Warriors
For more untold stories of the
men and women who serve in silence.
but strike with thunder.
Because heroes don't always wear capes,
Sometimes they carry rifles.
and sometimes
They're the last thing you never see coming.